started. Thank you so much. Keith, that is you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You may want to put your other. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight for the District 6 community meeting. I know it has been a while, and so I'm really excited to catch up with you guys and also engage in dialogue with you all tonight in regards to just what's happening, not only in the school system, but particularly in our area, District 6. And so before we begin, I just wanted to just give a brief overview of the agenda for tonight, and then we'll have we'll have some introductions. So we'll spend about 5 minutes doing with welcoming introductions, spend about 20 minutes just give you guys an update on current events that are happening and things that are on the horizon, particularly that would impact District 6 specifically. And then we'll spend roughly about 10 minutes. There's a lot of meetings and a lot of things that are happening, as you can imagine, as we ramp up for the school year. So I wanted to also give a few minutes just to give you an overview of those dates. And then we'll spend the remaining time in regards to just community conversation, being able to ask any questions, provide any feedback, and also just engage in dialogue with you guys. And then, of course, if some of these items we get through sooner, we have more time, we'll have more time together. And then I'll just close with some next steps moving forward, and then we'll adjourn tonight's meeting. So I hope that sounds good to everyone. I want to start by, of course, introducing my colleague Cynthia Briscoe Brown that is joining us, and also also introducing Keith Glass, who works in our board office. That some of you guys may have engaged with Keith a lot. He is our head of our community engagement. Our community engagement manager, and so he and Pierre Gaither, who is our board executive director, are our go-tos to ensure that we are answering any questions, replying to any emails, making sure that we are present as well. So I wanted to acknowledge the two of them on tonight's call that is helping me facilitate the call. And Cynthia and Keith wanted to give you guys an opportunity if you want to say a few words.
Thank you, Ishay. I just want to welcome everybody back as we get ready to start. As we get ready for the new school year. There are a lot of exciting things going on that I know Ishay will be talking about in a few minutes. And we look forward to a school year that will feel more normal than any we've had in a very long time.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Yep, and so I definitely echo everything board member Briscoe Brown mentioned, but I just want to say good evening, everyone, and I'm happy to be on the call and definitely looking forward to the feedback.
Great, thank you, Keith. And I'll also, as board, I'm quite sure other board members may join us tonight. I'll acknowledge them as well. And so just giving you an update on some current events that are happening. As you all may know, for the last year and a half, the board has embarked on a complete overhaul of our governance structure. And we have moved towards a more student outcome focused governance structure. You may have remembered our conversations on our goals and guardrails, and also our goals that we have established in that's along with our strategic plan. And as you may know, that our APS 5, which is the administration 5 efforts to improve student achievement. I put this on the schedule, to give you guys an update, because the month of August will be one of our first step in full implementing our student outcome focused governance structure. You will see when the board agenda goes live next week, you will see initial change where you see our first progress monitoring goal, which will be on literacy. And so one of our goals that we have established over not only in our strategic plan, but as a actual goal of the board, is to look at how we'll be improving literacy across the entire district. And so August meeting, we will be engaging deeply in that conversation of understanding what does our literacy data looks like, what is happening in the district in terms of literacy, what are those differentiating things that are happening, the inequities that are happening, and also the opportunities that we are that we will address, but also that is currently happening. So I wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of our first full step in our student outcome focused governance structure as a board, as you will start to see those changes take place in August board meeting. I will also make announcements at the board meeting on what September looks like as we start to fully integrate and merge the complete overhaul of our governance structure. You can find this information on our APS website. And so what I will do throughout the meeting, if you have, what I will do throughout the meeting is I will be putting links and dropping images in our chats so that you can have that information available. So Keith, I may need your help to, as I'm maneuvering through the PowerPoint presentation, I may need your help to at least drop those APS webpage links in the chat for the community.
Sounds good.
Yeah. The second major thing that we have that has been underway for a while is our facilities master planning. And our facilities master planning has been, again, our overall effort of understanding the capacity issues that are in the district. How do we address them? But how do we address them by maximizing our facilities throughout the district? We normally we have APS has not engaged in a full-blown facilities master planning of this magnitude in the last this is almost close to 20 years, 19 years. Over the years where there's been decisions in regards to redistricting, or there has been decisions in regards what to do with vacant properties, or we all have seen, schools that were closed over certain times. Those were decisions based on changes that have happened, whether it's with the attendance, boundaries that have happened throughout the city and the school system. But this facilities master planning is looking at our overall inventory of our facilities. What does the population projections show us, and how do we need to make the best decisions align with what those projections are? We embarked on this work. The board actually embarked on the facilities master planning initially in 2019, and it was halted when we entered COVID. We have resumed those conversations. And if you've been following us, we heavily dive into the conversations the beginning in the spring semester or the beginning of this year, 2022. And there was conversations, as you may know, that are taking place in regards to the Emmett Park Middle School building, the proposal of a K-5 structure, K-5 school there, redistricting that could potentially happen between the Washington, Midtown, and Carver clusters. And so the first part of our retreat, we dived into those conversations. The next part of our retreat, which will take place on Thursday, August the 11th from 9 to 4, is the focus will be on our surplus and vacant properties. And the reason why I put this on a topic for our community conversation is because our community, District 6, we have a lot of vacant properties throughout the district, but more importantly, this conversation will fully target what to do with our surplus and vacant properties. And so I put a couple on this slide as an example of what we will be talking about in regards to our vacant and surplus properties. And so that is the Venetian Hills Elementary School building in Adams Park, the West Atlanta School that's at 1335 Kimberly Road, that has been closed for going on 2 decades now. As you all may have seen in the media, the Lakewood Elementary School, which is not in District 6, is actually right on the border. It's in the South Atlanta cluster. And so I've been collaborating with board member Katie Howard, District 1 board member Katie Howard in that space. But I wanted to also put that on this list because I know a few community members have reached out to me about that property because it does in fact align, it borders District 6 and District 1. I put it again, I want you guys to mark your calendars for this retreat because the board will be heavily having conversations with our facilities department, which is led by Larry Hoskins, our COO, but also the Sizemore Group, who is the independent consultants who have put out recommendations on what we should do or what we should consider about our surplus and vacant properties. Again, this list, this is not an exhaustive list. There are vacant land. There is a 1 acre here, a 3 acre here throughout the south side of the city, which this conversation that will take place on August the 11th will be the deep dive of the board, really having conversations. And so please mark your calendars to join us there. It will be streamed live on Facebook, so that way you can be able to be, if you're working from home, be in front of your computer, or if you're at a meeting or you have errands to run, you can still log on Facebook Live and at least hear the dialogue, because there will be engagement sessions that will happen after the board retreat over the next few months to gather your thoughts and feedback about about decisions about our vacant and surplus properties. The next major update I wanted to also provide to you all is a Carver cluster planning update. And we've been engaging in the Carver cluster and also in streamlining, but also a major change that will happen in a Carver cluster, where there have been community conversations to gather not only feedback but thoughts as that decision is coming into a permanent form. And so I put here the proposed change from a college and career prep really quickly. So Waikisha, I see your hand is raised. If you guys can hold any questions or feedback to the community conversation part, I will ensure we will get to everything. So just wanted to put that out there. As you guys may know, that there is a proposed change to move the Carver cluster from a college and career signature programming to a STEM/STEAM cluster. And so over the last few months, there have been community conversations that have happened, but there's also been cluster advisory meetings, and also the administration has been looking deeply into what that change looks like for the Carver cluster as we land on a solid signature program for Carver. The next meeting, the next community conversation will be on next Tuesday, July 26th at 5:30. I will put the link in the chat for you to register for that community conversation, so that if you haven't been a part of the conversation, you can get caught up, but also you can see the next steps in the actual proposal of changing the signature program of Carver from college and career to actually a STEM/STEAM cluster. And then last but not least, I wanted to give you an update on a big initiative that I've been working on for the last year, but actually even before then. And there is the creation of cluster foundations. As you may know, certain schools throughout every school has a PTA, whether it's active or inactive. And I know there's efforts to bring the PTAs that are inactive back online. But also throughout the district, schools, individual schools, in fact, have their foundations where they raise additional funds to be able to do additional things in the classroom, host additional events at their school, invest in additional teacher training, materials, equipment, anything additional that the school feels that they need beyond what they currently have in the schools. But what we've seen, what research has shown us, and also what we've seen, that's very apparent and clear, that there's inequities in the ability to fundraise, or for all schools to actually have their own individual foundations. And they're hard, and foundations could be complex and also hard to manage if they're not put together in the right space. But a lot of our schools on the South Side does not have them at all, and there may be one or two of our schools that do. So listening to community feedback over the years has been this focus of, well, how can we create a cluster foundation where we have an arm to raise our own, raise funds to support the entire cluster. And so that way, in communities where there may be limited funds or limited access to capital, the entire cluster, raising those money will support the entire cluster as one foundation, versus having to give to one elementary school, give to the middle school, give to the high school, which could really put put a strain on a parent or community member or a business partner's pockets. And so we actually started with launching the Carver Cluster Foundation, which many of you guys may be aware of, and that official launch is underway. We have it is now a 501c3, so we were able to make it into a 501c3 and received our letter from IRS about a month and a half ago. We actually have met with principals and also community leaders and serving as part of the inaugural board to actually launch the Carver Cluster Foundation. Currently, there are we have three parents, Katie Howard, board member Katie Howard, and I, since we share the Carver Cluster, we currently meet to make sure that paperwork and the legal paperwork and everything is in place. And so there'll be more public announcement and PR that will be happening within the next few weeks about the official launch of the Carver Cluster Foundation and our first not only board meeting, community meeting, and potentially our first full fundraiser slated for this fall. I'm really excited to have this space created for the Carver Cluster Foundation, and looking forward to creating these opportunities for the Thorold and South Atlanta clusters, and in which I put the projected dates. And so my goal is to have the Thorold Cluster Foundation launch this fall of 2022, and the South Atlanta Cluster Foundation to be launched around the same time, but definitely winter of 2022-23. And so I wanted to make sure that you all are aware of that, and I'll be sharing updates as those things are being solidified, but also as more community engagement and more community announcements will be made about these efforts. And so the next slide, and I'll keep this up for a second, but I'll also arrange with Keith to send it out, is everything that is happening within the next truly in the next 3 weeks. And so I wanted to, I create this slide as a mark your calendar. Some of these dates we've already talked about in regards to the Carver Cluster Planning Community Conversation that'll happen on next Tuesday, the 26th at 5:30. But also, if you're not a part of the Carver Cluster, or you feel like you have enough information right now on the Carver Cluster, we will also be holding our Atlanta Board of Education and City of Atlanta joint committee meeting on next Tuesday, the 26th, as well, at 5:30. That effort was created by Mayor Andres Dickens when he was in fact city councilman at that time, as resuming the joint committee where selected representatives from the board and selected members of city council actually come together and talk about issues, and not only talk about issues, but also formulate solutions on things that are impacting the school system, but also our children and our families once they leave the schoolhouse during the day, during the semester, and during the year. And so those joint meetings have resumed. They had their first meeting last month in June, and will be meeting again on next Tuesday, the 26th at 5:30. That meeting will take place downtown at the CLL, the Center for Leadership and Learning, or APS headquarters, but it also will be streamed live as well. So I want to make sure that's on your calendar. On Friday, next Friday, the 29th, the Wash and Span Corn Laundry throughout the city, there are approximately 5 locations. On next Friday, the 29th, from 10 to 2, they are launching their free laundry and literacy day. I'll drop the flyer in the chat for you. If you know of any families or communities that can really benefit from this, please share this information with them. A lot of families have reached out in regards to resources, and particularly resources to help prepare for school in this space. And so I wanted to also push this out, that the Wash and Span will be doing their free laundry and literacy day, where Gears, the city, and a few other major organizations have partnered with them. As you know, our APS Back to School Bash is back, and that will be next Saturday, the 30th, from 9 to 1 at the Georgia World Congress Center. We'll drop that flyer in the chat as well. So not only you can want you to attend, but also push for as many families to attend as well. On the link that we'll drop in the chat is also additional information in regards to transportation or other ways to get to the actual Back to School Bash. The TheraCluster, there's a TheraCluster school supply giveaway as well for those families that may not be able to make it to the Back to School Bash. And that is on next Sunday, the 31st, from 1 to 3 p.m. at the William Walker Recreation Center. And so I'll drop that information in as well. Mosaic Printing, Art Opportunity, and a couple of community organizations have come together to support the TheraCluster and our students in getting ready for school as well. And then as you may know, Monday, August 1st, 2022 is the first day of school. And so wanting to make sure that of course, everyone knows, because everyone like, wow, that's really early, but we have a calendar to validate why, but want to make sure that it's on your radar. The last thing that I did miss, and I knew that it was on here, on next Friday, also on next Friday from 9 to 1 is our APS district-wide open houses. And so wherever your child will be in elementary, middle, or high school, you should have received some communication so far in regards to the times that those will be. And so I just want to also make sure that it's on your radar that our district-wide open house for our elementary, middle, and high schools will take place on Friday, the 29th as well. So for many of you guys that may not know, the monthly Board of Education meeting is always the first Monday of the month, but there are a few times where that won't be. And this August meeting, which would normally been August 1st, will now be Monday, August 8th, because of first day of school. And so I wanted to make sure you also knew about that date. If you have the recurring first Monday of each month in your calendar, to know that August board meeting will actually be Monday, August 8th. We start the work sessions at 2:30. So that will be the presentations that the administration will give to the board. During that time, we will have the initial conversation of our literacy goal as part of our student outcome focused governance monitoring launch that I shared with you earlier. So that takes place around the 2:30 hour. And then the community meeting launches at 6 p.m. We encourage anyone that wants to speak to the board to sign up between 5 and 5:45. And of course, our Board of Education meeting is streamed live as well. The next thing I want to make sure this is on your radar as well. You'll see it in the media, but we also every year has to set the millage rate. And the millage rate is actually the rate in regards to the collection of property taxes for each, and every school system has to do it. So each school system has to set their millage rate. I want to make sure that you're aware of our millage hearings, because there will be some additional conversation on where APS will be setting the millage rate. What I can share with you, and I don't know, because I don't know the concrete details, but what I will share with you, there's conversations of no intent to increase the millage rate. So our millage rate won't increase, which more than likely, if your property value has maintained its value, you shouldn't have any impact. But I think a lot of us have experienced increased values in or all of us throughout our city. So there may be impact. The millage rate hearings that'll take place on Monday the 8th, there'll be two at 10 a.m. and at 6 p.m. And then the final adoption on Monday at 8 on August the 15th. The time needs to be confirmed, and we'll get that to you, are the three hearings in which we will discuss the millage rate. I want to just make sure that it's on your radar, because you will see media coverage about that, particularly as we talk about the increase in home values, displacement that is happening, all of those things. And so that millage rate conversation becomes will probably be a good one to be a part of, or just to hear and understand how the school system sets the millage rate to collect property taxes and revenue in that regards. And then, as I shared with you before, our facilities master planning board retreat will take place on Thursday, August the 11th from 9 to 4. And so before I open up for questions, dialogue, feedback, anything that I may have missed, I wanted to acknowledge a couple of my colleagues that have joined us as well. So we have Katie Howard, my colleague that represent District 1. She and I share the Carver cluster and a portion of the South Atlanta cluster, who has joined us. And she is one of our newest board members that was elected in November and sworn in January. Katie, did you want to say a couple words?
Yes, thanks, Ishay. I'm sorry, I am multitasking tonight. I am covering a meeting for my boss, so I'm back in the kitchen at the place we're having the meeting so that people can't hear me. But really appreciate you letting me tune in tonight, and I am certainly here for constituents and students, of course, in District 6, and our, like you said, our Board of Education districts are right next to each other, and we have a lot of overlap with our schools. So definitely want to hear feedback from people tonight, and feel free to reach out to me as well. You can find my email on our website, and I'm happy to share my cell as well if you email me. Thanks so much, Ishay, for that great overview, and looking forward to hearing questions and feedback.
Yes.
And here to address any questions for me as well. Thanks.
Yep, no problem. And feel free to drop your contact information, Katie, in the chat as well. Our other board member colleague that is joining me tonight is our newest seat 7 at-large member, Tamara Jones, that has joined us as well. Tamara, I know you're probably in transition as well. Did you want to say a few words or anything?
Sure. I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to be here, and it took me a few minutes to figure out how to get the meeting code. Sorry that I was a little bit late, but we are traveling to visit family in North Carolina, but just want to hear what everybody has to say. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much for joining us, and feel free to drop your contact information in the chat as well, especially with you and Cynthia as our at-large members. And so we're going to go ahead and start the community conversation, if that's okay. I wanted to have more time for that, and Keith is going to help me navigate and facilitate, because I'll be dropping things in the chat for you all. We're asking for you to use the raised hand function if you can on your through Zoom, and then we will go through that if that's okay. Okay, and so I'll start with, I know Waukesha has had her hand raised. So Waukesha, let's go ahead and start with you.
Good evening, everyone. My question, now that you talk about, and I'm glad Katie is on here as well, you both share the Carver cluster. Are there any plans to reopen Thomasville now that we know that we have over 190 families still living in that unit? Is there any conversation about how that decision can be reversed so that those students could be able to walk across the street and attend school versus possibly having to be bused further down? Mm-hmm. is my first question. And you or Katie can tag team on that, but I would love to hear what is happening about that.
Absolutely. So for those that may not be aware in regards to or haven't followed the closure of Thomasville Heights Elementary as a result of Forest Cove, the apartments that are right across the street where 90% of the students attend, is slated to be condemned. The initial goal was to have everyone, the city's initial goal was to have all those families relocated by August 1st. And what we found out, there's approximately 177 students that are between the elementary, middle, and high school level that are still in Forest Cove, that have not been that have not, and those families have not been placed. So it's not 177 elementary students, it is across the entire board. What I will say, Waukesha, and I don't know, Katie, if you wanted to share any, as you're probably getting more updates because that is your area, there is conversations happening about what needs to happen in the meantime to support those families that are still there. I don't have the definite number for of how many elementary students will be impacted. We're collecting that now, but I do know, Ms. Howe, that those conversations are happening, and as you can imagine, we are moving aggressively to address it, as these numbers literally just came to us, and it's changing every single day as families are being relocated, just as late as last night. So Katie, did you want to add anything else to
That was a great overview, Ishay, and I appreciate it. And I saw a question, excuse me, in the chat about where the Carver campus is actually my Board of Education district.
Mhm.
And I have the same information as Ishay. Clearly, it's a fluid situation. I'm glad you asked the question, Waukesha, because, people are working very hard to make sure families are moved from Forest Cove, because we all know that it's a really awful situation on the ground right there at Forest Cove. But to make sure that families are moved to safe, quality housing, it is a huge effort and monumental task. And unfortunately, it is taking a lot of time. So right now, like Ishay touched on and explained, everyone is mobilizing right now to make sure students have the supports they need and going to schools, because it will not just be elementary students that are impacted. It's obviously middle and high. So making sure, they are there day one with us, APS, and they're supported in the transition. So, no one wants to be in the situation right now, but I feel confident in all the people who are working actively to make sure that kids are in school day one, prepared and supported. So that's where we are right now. And I'm happy to talk with anybody additionally about the situation offline or later on during the meeting. But we are being updated continually by the superintendent.
Thank you for that, Katie and Ishay. The recent article that just came out said it was about 190 families. We know when you guys came to us, and I would love to hear when there will be some dialogue with that community that came up in the conversation tonight, because we have been very adamant about coming to the school board and making sure that we give public comment to let you guys know that we told you long time ago that this will be almost impossible. And if you go back, the actual date was June the 15th that all the families was allegedly supposed to have been relocated. And you guys, I feel, my opinion, made a premature decision with closing school, around May, when, the families, it wasn't even 10 families or 5 families gone yet. And so when you guys have meetings and you talk in other clusters, like the Grady cluster or the North Atlanta cluster, and you talk about walkability, now you have so many kids. Because remember, the magic number was that you can't keep the school open because only 60 families was going to be there. So the other 150, 70 students would be relocated. There was never any talk that these kids will come from the middle school and the high school until now. What we do understand is that a school is closed, family and children are still there, and we know the bus situation. So how will these families, be taken care of when they have a closed school directly across the street from them, and they have to be shifted somewhere else? Even our council member that you guys talk to all the time have told you guys that it has been a very hard task, and we told you guys before that had been taking place when we came and gave public comments, but yet you voted against the community and closed the school anyway. I just want to understand the logic and the common sense behind doing that. And in a market like this, and we're talking about relocating 200 families. We wasn't, the
Okay.
conversation never really talked about, you know, the middle school or the high school, but I noticed the conversation have changed now.
Okay, so let me, and thank you so much, Pelio, because someone is saying, can we focus on District 6? So I wanted to answer your question. I want to answer the multi questions that you have, and then if it's okay for us to move on. So your first question was, what conversations are happening with those community members? The people that live in that actual community is having a conversation now. There was a meeting that was held last night. I don't know if you're aware of at 6 p.m. over at the community center. And there's a conversation that is happening tonight. There's also, and as you know, the city met with, and this is APS. This is APS. This is not the city. This is APS team has met with families yesterday and today, and there'll be additional conversations next week. So there are conversations that are happening directly with those families and the community that is impacted, which is probably why you are aware of it. The conversation has never changed from a combination of the families of our elementary, middle, and high school students and the aggregate of that number. The focus that you provided feedback and others were particularly about Thomasville Heights. So what we do know, it is 177 students that are remaining in our families, however you want to say it, that are left there. What we're trying to get is the actual number of elementary students that are left, so we can have the conversation of how to support those children that would have attended Thomasville Heights. I don't have the exact details of that, but we can get those details. We can get those details for you. We focus on both. Your response in regards to UC Carver on the agenda, it is in regards to the cluster, the signature programming that is taking place. But to respect everyone else that is on the call and feedback and comments as well, I don't want to use the entire time focusing on Thomasville specifically as a community that's in District 1. So I hope that information is enough for you, and we'll reach out to get some more details to you as it comes to us. Thank you. Next question, Melissa Hughley.
Good afternoon. Hey, Ishay. Hi, everyone.
Good
All y'all
afternoon.
board members. My question is the start date for school the same for cyber school? Is it the same date?
Yes. So virtual academy, all of our virtual academy, Phoenix Academy, every program, our Atlanta College and Career Academy, everyone starts on August 1. What may change and where you may see some differentiation in it is in regards to student schedules or course enrollment, but everyone is slated to start on August 1. There is no virtual starts in 2 weeks after or anything like that.
Okay.
Is there anything in particular that you may need information on, or something that we may need to look into for you?
No. I just wanted to know. I thought they probably started at a different date, but no, not really. But I do want to ask you, I know we're going to have talks on the surplus of all the properties, but I wanted to know, are y'all planning to create a committee in reference to some of the communities where these properties sit at? Maybe with some of the NPU education chairs? I know for us, it's Capitol View. So I would love to start a small committee that is surrounding us, Capitol View, and Sylvan Hills, and just some of the people that actually live in the community to talk about what we could do with the building.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. So part of the goal for the conversation is to resume the facilities master planning advisory group council that Larry and the facilities team brought back. But what I personally want to commit to, Melissa, is in fact those smaller communities, like what we did when we reimagine what Adair Park could be, or even Parks Middle School with the Atlanta College and Career Academy. So I'll be reaching out to NPUs and the leaders myself to pull those groups together. Definitely Venetian Hills and the Venetian Hill and Adams Park community with you guys with Capitol View. So definitely we'll be leaning on you all to pull those groups together where we can coordinate times to meet, and I can, and I along with my colleagues can hear some of the feedback of what community wants to see in the, out of those buildings and vacant properties. But what I do know, our goal out of this August retreat is to fully walk away with an understanding of what we're going to do with those properties. And so the conversation truly can be more, more targeted and getting the community feedback as well. And then of course, pushing the additional community engagement that will happen. So I'll definitely reach out to you and to the other NPU leaders and education committee leaders to help pull those groups together. So thank you for that.
No problem. And one last thing, I did look in Insight at the score. So congratulations to Perkinson on improving their score. But some of our schools, they're not quite there yet. The literacy is not quite there. So when you all start having talks on the literacy portion, please keep me afloat with that. So that's my thing with literacy. So definitely keep me aware of what's going on. I'm gonna reach out to them all anyway to see what I can do to actually help them improve their scores. I'm proud of them for getting this math scores up. So
yeah, absolutely. And there's more data, so that there's more state data that will be released at the end of this month. That is embargoed right now. We don't even know what it is. I know it's going to be the update map scores and update map scores and testing scores that will be released at the end of this month. And so our goal is to make sure all of that data and understanding is incorporated when the boards begin the conversation on, literacy at the August 8th board meeting. And so I'll make sure you'll see the presentation with that data and information part of the board agenda. And so I'll make sure I'll make sure that you have access to that. But it will be the first where we're going to really, really engage in the conversation of understanding the landscape of literacy in the school system.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I don't see any raised hands. I don't know if, did anyone else? Oh, hey,
Hi.
Pilo. Hey, Pilo.
It's PLO. Just
PLO.
Literally 3 letters, PLO. I do have a question. I'm trying to host a parent engagement meeting, community meeting around school board 101 and just trying to get more parents engaged in the school board. And I want to know if you or any of the other board members know anyone who can explain the budget and the financial statement to parents where they will walk away with really truly understanding. Meaning I'm looking for someone who can explain it to them as if they were a 4th and 5th grader. I want all parents to kind of walk away with something so that way they can get more knowledge about the budget and kind of be able to attend these board meetings and really understand what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Full transparency, we have to get explained to us, so it's because it can be very complex. But we have individuals in the district and on the finance team, which is led by Lisa Bracken, that comes out into the communities and have these dialogues. So we can coordinate that as well. Do you have a potential date or a target date where you want to hold the engagement session?
I'm trying to hold it on August the 11th.
Okay. So we need to move. We need to move soon. Okay. So we can what Keith, I know Keith is on a call and I'm taking notes as well. What we can do, I can reach out to you, PLO, and see and coordinate that with you.
Okay, thank you. And I'll send you an email.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hey, Rob. Hey, Robin. How are you? See, I see your hand raised.
I'm doing well. I'm sorry. I'm trying to multitask as well. I'm
No.
still at work technically, but don't tell anybody.
I
I had put a question in the chat because unfortunately I'm not familiar with the decision to move Carver from college and career to STEM, and I see that's being planned for the Thero cluster as well. So I'm just trying to understand, what does that mean, and what was the decision? If you could briefly just recap.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so the first thing, so the Carver, the move from the college and career piece to the STEAM piece was the administration wanting, every signature program that we have is an accredited program. And so with college and for the college and career track that we initially wanted to go with, there isn't an accredited program or solid accredited designed program that moves in that space. And so you have, you know, a pull out of college here, early college there, some components here. And so for the stability and for the stability that the Carver cluster needs, it opened up this conversation of moving it to a STEAM/STEM cluster. And so that's where these community engagement sessions are designed to give an update on what the Carver cluster community stated that they wanted to, that they wanted to see in the cluster, what making that movement happen, and then the timeline of making that happen. And so that was the Carver cluster, the conversation in changing the signature programming for Carver. So you mentioned Thero. There's no change that is happening in the Thero cluster. The Thero cluster has been IB and is still on the path of all the schools. I think there's only one more school that's left to be fully IB, International Baccalaureate accredited. So the Thero cluster remains an IB cluster. What schools are doing, they're integrating like STEM or STEAM in some of their curriculum, or giving students the opportunity. So like I'll use Fickett, for example, where they've launched their community garden effort, looking at STEM in that regards of some of the things that are happening in the school. But the cluster and the programming, the basic programming is IB for the Thero
Okay, good.
cluster.
Good. That's what I was, that was my understanding.
Yes.
I just wanted to get, clarification if that involved Thero, but I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. I appreciate that.
Thank you. That's all I had.
No problem. And Crystal, who is new to, Crystal is not new to us. She is actually one of our former rock stars at Kimberly that has now joined our Office of Family Engagement. And she put a message in the chat, but what I want to do is give Crystal that opportunity to introduce yourself, talk about the work that you're doing, Crystal, and what's on the horizon. So I would love for you to love to give you that moment while we have you on a call.
Thank you so much, Ishay. But you put me on the spot with
I
the
did. I'm sorry,
with
but
the
I'm
two-year-old
so
in the
excited to
background.
still have you.
He was waiting on me, like you said we were going for a walk. So I will be very brief. But yes, I have been around for a while. I live and worked in the Thero cluster. So Thero cluster is always near and dear to my heart. But I have now gone on to assist all 92 of our schools with the Office of Family Engagement. And so PLO conversations that you spoke of are exactly what we want to assist with fostering. And there are so many great parent liaisons who I primarily will be supporting in the schools that I want to help build the capacity to foster those type of conversations, to gather parents and community members, and breaking down in its simplest form. As a former GOTY member, I truly understand how the budget can be like looking at another language, but when it's broken down, you're empowered with so much knowledge and how to make informed decisions and raise your voice in a way that can truly be heard when you understand those types of decision-making processes. So once again, I am the new program manager for family engagement. Keisha Copeland is our director, and we are all about relationship building between the schools, the local schools, the district level, and families and community. So anything that ties into that always catches my ear. So looking forward to being a part of more conversations like this. Thank you so much, Ishay.
No problem. Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot, Chris, but I was so glad to have you join us. particularly as your new. Thank you so much. And so Piella, we'll get with Crystal, and I'll put her information in to help coordinate that and make sure that you have the information and the people to support you in there. So Melissa asked, where's Miss Holland, Miss Emily Holland? Emily is still with us, Melissa. She hasn't gone anywhere, but Crystal is joining us in the space of where the board has pushed for increased capacity and family engagement and increased investment to support our family engagement efforts. So Emily Holland is still in the family engagement, still in the family engagement department. So she's still there. Great. If there's anything else.
It doesn't look like it, Ishay.
And so, Ms. Howe, I know you said when is their first meeting? I'll get with Crystal on that and make sure that it's communicated. And if we also have the information by the board, by Back to School Bash and board meeting, we'll make sure to communicate that to everyone. And so we're right at about 6:56. Just to give you guys next steps, we'll based on the registration, I'll send a copy of this recording and also the presentation for that information and dates if you need to. In regards to next steps, my goal is to also, for the month of August, is to get to NPUs. And so I'll be reaching out to education chairs and leaders in regards to making announcements to remind the community about upcoming dates that are happening. And then September, my goal is to host another community meeting towards the end of September, because there's going to be a lot of meetings that hit the community in regards to facilities master plan and cluster planning, and a few family engagement, a few other things. And so look forward to that September date, as well as I lock in my calendar. I am really excited to be back in this space with you guys. As you all may know, I was elected chair in January. So I spent the spring semester, the first part of the year, just really getting a lot of things in place and getting into the ebbs and flow of the work, which I'm really excited. But I also know that my role and my service to you all as a District 6 representative is to also make sure you all stay informed on decisions that will specifically impact our district. And so I'm really excited to continue that commitment and bring forth some additional meeting dates and engagement opportunities with you guys. And so with that being said, I just want to thank everyone for taking time out of their schedule this evening to join us, and look forward to some additional information that'll come across your email box shortly. Thank you guys again. Have a great night, and I will see you all soon.
Thank you. Good night. Thanks, Ishay. Appreciate it. Thanks,
Bye.
board
Thank you
members.
guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ishay.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.